Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door. And today I'm talking about tarot and rabbits. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you weren't able to attend my recent tarot card creation workshop live or didn't register in time, you can still get the full hour-long recording with my step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you through it for just $33. The link will be in the show notes to purchase that. I'm also going to be offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course starting at the end of August. So there's a link to sign up for more information for that as well. I did just update my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever. If you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the Lovers level. If you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, join us at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. We'll be meeting at the Old Hangout in the Tacoma McMinimans from 1 to 3 p.m. on July 27th. Bring your tarot cards, your questions, and your obsession with tarot. Come meet other witchy and tarot folks in your community and RSVP in the link in the show notes for the meetup group. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and more. And if you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist, seeing clients virtually all over Washington State. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. So if you'd like to work with a therapist that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so welcome to season 12. This is the first episode where I'm talking all about tarot and animals. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics. Seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and an overview of the 4 suits. In season 4, I talked tarot and pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. Season 6, 7, 8, and 9, I went through the suit of wands, pentacles, swords, and cups. Season 10, I talked about tarot and witchcraft, and I just wrapped up season 11 talking about tarot and plant allies. So now here we are on to season 12, where I'm talking about tarot and animals, and today I'm talking about tarot and rabbits. So for this episode, I'll give an animal description, we'll talk symbolism, animal magic, and its relation to the tarot. All right, so to get started, rabbits, in general, so description of them: rabbits, bunnies, hares, jackrabbits, all sort of get lumped into this category. They can look a bit different depending on where they are, but they're small, furry animals, right? They have long ears, short, fluffy tails, and strong, large hind legs. They're known for hopping along, and typically they're like herbivores, so eating grasses and other plants. Their long ears are used for hearing and also to help them regulate their body temperature. They have a short, flight, wafty tail, which is often white underneath, which is a distinctive feature. They have these very strong hind legs that allow them to hop and run quickly, which is essential for escaping predators because they are prey animals. Rabbits have 2 pairs of sharp incisors or front teeth that continue to grow throughout their lifetime. They have soft fur, typically soft and thick, providing insulation. Most rabbit species live in underground burrows called warrens. And like I said, they're herbivores, so they eat mostly grasses, leaves, and other vegetation. And they are social animals and often live in groups. As prey animals, they are constantly aware of their surroundings. They have a wide field of vision. They have those big ears to detect potential predators. And like I said, right, they hop away in sort of a zigzaggy fashion. Or they can burrow in the ground. Mostly the burrowing, I think, that's like where they live and where they lay, have their babies in litters, often of 4 to 12 babies, also known as kits. And they don't usually have any particular mating season. So we'll get into this with the symbolism of rabbits, but they do have a lot of babies. Again, as a prey animal, that's pretty vulnerable. A lot of things eat rabbits or kill them in some way. Basically, the way that they deal with that is by having a lot of babies. I believe, they have short pregnancies. I was going to check on exactly how short. Sometimes people also keep rabbits for pets or for meat, and they have been bred for their meat and fur as well. Where does it talk about their gestation? Okay. Yeah, usually their gestation is between 27 and 30 days. So basically they can have, up to 12 to 14 babies every month. So that's a lot of rabbits. As someone that's a gardener, some people really hate rabbits because they do eat plants and get into the garden. I generally have rabbits that live near or in my yard. I've seen babies. I've had rabbits have babies, have litters in my yard. Again, usually underground. That's where their nests are. And they'll gather a bunch of materials like grass or other, even fur off their own body to provide insulation for the babies when they're quite young. We've had a lot of rabbits make it through our yard. And again, because they have babies every month, I never really know if it's the same rabbits or not. But anyway, so we can have a lot of those. I have raised beds, which just means I don't plant most things in ground. Most things I have for vegetables are raised off the ground. So generally the rabbits don't get into them. Although I do definitely have a rabbit right now that has made a nest in one of my raised beds. So I'm trying not to disturb it because they might have babies in there, or they might be about to have babies, so I don't want to disturb them. All right, so let's talk more about symbolism or things associated with the rabbits. So in tarot or in animal symbolism in general, rabbits represent fertility, abundance, and new beginnings, somewhat because of that high reproductive rate, making them a natural symbol of fertility and the potential for growth and new life. They can also symbolize fear, anxiety, and a tendency to overthink. Again, they are very flighty, they're timid, they can get easily startled, and so that tendency to maybe, it says overreact to perceived threats. I wouldn't call it that because rabbits have a lot of perceived threats, and they sort of, one of their So they will hop away, but one of their tendencies when they are scared is to just stand still. And it kind of makes me laugh because at least as a human predator, I'm like, I can still see you, like even if you stand still. I'm very well aware of where you are, like that's not going to fool me. Thankfully, I'm not hunting them, so they're doing just fine, but it just reminds me of like Jurassic Park or something where they talk about that some of the dinosaurs like they can only see movement. So there are some predators that are like that. What else? Yeah, they can represent like new beginnings. Again, we often associate them with springtime, Easter, bunny rabbits, right? All of those things signifying fresh starts, opportunities, the beginning of a new cycle. Again, like they can kind of have this tendency to be associated with overthinking or like anxiety, just because they are nervous creatures. But again, I would say like that serves them well. So that generally in the wild, at least, so they can stay alive. It feels different when you're, my sister, Cecily, raised rabbits when she, like for 4-H, when she was in middle and high school. And so we had rabbits that she would show. We didn't have them for meat, but for sort of like show. And yeah, rabbits, they can get very warm. So living in a warm place, we had to give them a lot of frozen water bottles and mist them and keep them cool and in the shade. Because again, in the wild, rabbits would burrow in the ground when it's super hot out and not move around much until like the beginning or end of the day. But of course, like when they're in a cage, they don't have that ability. So we had to work really hard to keep them cool, which was a lot of work. And then also rabbits, when they are stressed, especially in cages, because of that sort of like prey, like so many things eat them, tendency, they will even like throw themselves backwards and break their own necks when they're stressed. So again, like having rabbits as a pet is sort of hard. Some people I know have them as pets like in their home and they like hop around like as if you would have a cat in your house in that sense, and they're, you know, a lot less, I think, freaked out. But wild rabbits are, again, generally pretty anxious or nervous there. What else do we think of with rabbits? Yeah, so wild rabbits, like I said, they live in warrens dug out of the ground. Rabbits are represented in different tarot decks, or there's also rabbit-specific tarot decks. There's a quote from Rosemary Ellen Geely in a book that comes with the Alchemical Tarot. And it says, the hare lives in the earth and is an archetypal guide to the underworld. Because again, they do go underground in that way. They're very quiet animals. They don't really make sounds. Again, as a prey animal, they're always on alert and they kind of dart in and out of the brush, and you usually only see them if you're like very quiet. I see them a decent amount where I live. The rabbits that come into my yard get fairly used to me. I mean, they still don't like when I get very close, but I'm aware of how to have them calm down a bit by not looking at them, basically. When I see them, we're not getting too close, and then they usually hang out. And I have enough plants in my yard that generally I don't mind them munching. They have munched on my blueberry plants in like late winter, early spring, or other like when they don't have a lot of greens, right, in late winter when there's not a lot to eat for them, they are a little bit more of a pest them because they will eat, like they ate my blueberry plants just like to get at the inner growth material like in the stems of the plants before it was fruiting or anything. So that's sort of annoying, but I get it. Late winter is hard for a lot of critters. All right, what else do I want to say? Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about symbolism. And then we'll get into sort of the tarot card. The rabbit connects to lunar energies, life cycles, seen both forward and backward because they have eyes on the side of their head, like many prey animals, so that they can really look, almost have a 365-degree view of their where they have an ability to run at high speeds with erratic shifts in direction. They do freeze as a survival instinct, like I said. Sometimes when they see me, they will just stop moving. And again, I'm sort of like, well, that doesn't quite work on me. We have really good eyes. But it would work on some predators. They can use sharp claws or teeth when they're cornered. They do like to come out in dusk and dawn. So this like transition time of day. Again, if we think about life cycles, let's see. They are very lively, right? Again, they're sort of often moving around, trying to get away from folks or things. And that is the embodiment of Mercury, or the alchemical Mercurus. They have soft fur, long ears, and pink eyes, and endear and invite touch. And they do have this, like, again, association with fertility because of their fast reproductive system, I guess. And we also have, right, other symbolism with rabbits of like the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, which again, right, kind of descends into the underworld. We have Donnie Darko, we have Harvey, and the Easter Bunny, which, right, the Easter Bunny is another nod to fertility via the fertility goddess, Oestra. Especially with the basket and all those eggs, right? It's kind of funny to think about rabbits being associated with Easter, because when you think about like that we have eggs and then it's Easter and it is fertility season, like it makes sense more when you look at like the pagan version of the holidays, again, like Ostera or the goddess Ostre, and having that like fertility of bunnies. But as a kid, right, you're like, okay, there's an Easter bunny and we collect eggs. And then also there's like Easter with Jesus rising from the dead, where we do have, okay, like how are all these things connected? And then again, it is sort of about these like life cycles or rebirth, eggs coming into, chickens lay a lot of eggs in the springtime because they are getting more light, they have more ability to lay more eggs, they might be hatching babies as well as the temperatures warm up, and so all of that's kind of associated with fertility. Yeah, and then let's get into tarot cards associated with it. So we have, so generally the Queen of Pentacles cards is depicted with a rabbit or bunnies on it. And I do have one of those from the Sastrobito tarot deck. It's a woman she has like pentacle tattoos on her shoulders. She's like naked and she's holding at least 2 bunny rabbits in her arms, like cradling them. And then we see all these plants behind her, which again, just very sort of like, with queens and pentacles, right? Pentacles deal with the material realm, the body, health, money, property, food, home, environment. And then we have that coupled with the queen. We have that like nurturing, supportive connection to the physical world. We also have like the Queen of Pentacles would be like the most physically productive, perhaps with like childbearing or crafting or cooking or baking or just creating things, like making things. And Pamela Coleman Smith drew a bunny in the lower right hand corner of the Queen of Pentacles card on the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. That also has association with other queens of suits. So in the Queen of Swords, you would have this like incisive gaze and like exact precision and quality control. And then with the Queen of Wands, you have this sort of like colorful, more like pizzazz or creativity aspect of it. And then we also have like the Queen of Cups, which might be more of like patience, gentleness, right? All things that are sort of associated with like nurturing, caregiving, and this like rabbit symbolizing fertility. Generally, the Queen of Pentacles is the only Rider-Waite Smith tarot card featuring a rabbit. I have another deck that has animals on it, the Anima Mundi tarot deck by Megan Weirer-Wenden. And so I found two here where, again, in the Queen of Pentacles card, we have like a doe, so like a female deer for the Queen of Pentacles, but then still in the lower corner, we have a rabbit there. And then also the Knight of Wands is depicted in this deck as a rabbit or more like a hare, which just generally means like the longer legs and longer ears, or like a jackrabbit looking thing. I grew up in a place that was like desert like, so we had like more jackrabbits that had very long legs and really long tall ears because they needed the probably the ability to further cool themselves off in the desert versus being in like a cooler place where they might need like a lot of fur. All right, and then I did want to talk about too, in the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, and I found this information from the partingthemists.com. I'll have it linked in the show notes, but in the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, they have a rabbit card, and they talk about rabbits being an earth card, that it's about being afraid of everything, overwhelmed and frozen. It says the rabbit loves to remind his friends that someday the eagle will swoop down and eat him. He talks and talks and talks about it so loudly, in fact, that one day the eagle hears and thanks him for the great idea. Rabbit energy is alive when we are scared, most often about the future, and we become our own worst enemy. We spin up a dust cloud of fear and then complain to others that we are lost. Notice your thoughts and words, O rabbit, they shape your destiny. When in balance, they're sensitive, problem solvers, and good listeners. When out of balance, there's more over-explaining or talking fast. And to bring into balance, you can practice a day of silence. So that is another sort of rabbit association with the tarot. I was going to look up the Knight of Wands card that I talked about in the Anima Mundi deck, this one's a jackrabbit. It says the charming Knight of Wands makes things happen. He's passionate, ambitious, and action-oriented, not afraid to try new things. Be enthusiastic about your new projects and enterprises, but be sure not to act too impulsively. And then for the Queen of Pentacles, they talk about Queen of Pentacles is a mother figure, works hard to create a stable, comfortable place for her family. This could either be you or someone in your life who you look up to. Be compassionate, balanced, and down to earth to others as well as yourself. And that's the one that it depicts a white-tailed deer, like a female, a doe, but it also has the traditional rabbit in the corner of the card. Just like in the Rider-Waite Smith depiction. And yeah, in the Queen of Pentacles card from the Sacerdote Tarot deck, it talks about the Queen of Pentacles cradles a pair of rabbits, symbolizing fertility. Behind her are ridiculously large sprigs of rosemary. She's trustworthy, down to earth, and resourceful. She's independent, practical, and good at taking care of herself and others, being a pillar of support, as well as making a comfortable home. She may love to cook, craft, and build, and is good at making do with what is available. She is secure and shares her security with others. She bears pentacle tattoos on her shoulders. Her material prosperity is in proportion to the love and hard work that she creates by her own means. All right, and then finally, I wanted to pull out the Fearless Tarot book by Elliot Adam, How to Give a Positive Reading in Any Situation about the Queen of Pentacles, and see what they had to say about the rabbit part of it. It says, in the foreground of the card, in the bottom right-hand corner, is the Queen's pet rabbit. Rabbits can symbolize nervous energy. This reminds us that we must still act towards our dreams, even when we are afraid. Rabbits can also symbolize fertility, just like the Easter Bunny and the budding of spring. Rabbits were believed to bring good luck and swift fortune. The rabbit can symbolize the Queen's nervous energy, and yet the Queen of Pentacles doesn't drive the rabbit out of her garden, just like me. The Queen knows that nervous energy can be useful when properly channeled to get something done. Just now, however, the Queen is ignoring the fears of her rabbit and is instead focusing on the coin in her lap. This symbolizes that the Queen is not letting her anxieties distract her from what she is trying to manifest. So allow your anxiety to chatter in the background without losing focus on what you're trying to manifest. Don't make war with your anxiety. The key is not to make the rabbit, your anxiety, the center of your focus. Be like the Queen of Pentacles and keep your eyes on the prize, symbolized by the coin. The Queen of Pentacles also reminds us to ground yourself in the pleasures of the physical world, be that the warmth of your home, the flavors of the food you're eating, the green spirits calling from the trees, and the smell of the raindrops misting outside. Experience life's beauty with your senses. The Queen of Pentacles assures you that your efforts are ripening and blossoming in their perfect timing. How lovely. All right, so let's go ahead and pull a card to see what the rabbit or bunnies have to tell us today. I'm pulling from the It's Grow Time deck, 48 cards for Do Good, Feel Good Business Owners by Chantel Davis Gray. I just got this deck. If you want to check it out, there's free shipping and a special discount with code GOODNESS, and chanteldavisgray.com/card deck. I'll have the link in the show notes if you want to purchase your own. I just got mine. I don't get any kickback from it, but I just wanted to support another, tarot-minded small business friend of mine. All right, let's see. Okay, rabbit, what do you have to tell us? It says work at a small business coffee shop. Okay, so like changing up your environment, right? Supporting another small business. Yeah, I like that very much. Okay, so that's all for today. So if you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, you can click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest in receiving more information. We'll be working together for 12 weeks of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot. I'll be starting that towards the end of August, so no worries. You still have lots of time to check it out or sign up. Links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. All right, you can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with all your thoughts, questions, and more. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.